Hey everybody, so today we're doing things a little bit different because it's kind of getting late. It's after work. I have to make some mini corn muffins for tomorrow's potluck, and I still have a video to shoot talking about Watchmen episode number 5. So why not just combine all of it together? And there may be some Spanish involved as well. Got the muffin mix. Right, how are we going to make this? Alright, so I apologize if I'm not looking at the camera every 5 seconds during this video. I am trying to not burn myself. What the heck? It's not rocket science, it's muffin science. Alright, so the latest episode of Watchmen is mainly focused on Looking Glass, which is the character that very much parallels Rorschach. Instead of having like the felt, or not felt, but like more burlap type mask that has like the changing shapes on it, it's just a reflecto, whatever it's called, reflective material that essentially we find out in this episode is helping to block certain like telekinetic brainwaves because actually Looking Glass's character was in New Jersey when the Watchmen incident happened, which didn't happen in the movie, but happened in the comic book, where there was a giant squid that was teleported into Manhattan and caused a bunch of death and havoc. So in my opinion, this episode was hands down the best episode of the series so far. If I were to say so, I think that this would be, if I were to nominate an episode of a show to be going towards like an Emmy, which HBO is very well known of doing, I think that this would be a great example of one. What order am I supposed to put these in? Just says to blend them. Okay, cool. 1 egg. Egg's supposed to rattle. Kind of nervous. It's kind of frozen. Ha. Okay. Hopefully this turns out okay. Navera. Alright, so in this episode we mainly focus on Tim Blake Nelson's character, Looking Glass, whose real name escapes me while I'm doing this. Like I said, this episode was hands down probably one of the best episodes overall in terms of story and doing it for Watchmen, the storyline of Watchmen, as well as doing for, I'm whisking, like fan service and just overall general good storytelling. This one had the best overall throughout the entire episode because we actually follow Looking Glass's character as he sort of does a lot of his day-to-day things in his normal life, as well as doing like his superhero stuff on the side and, well, I guess vigilante type of stuff on the side as Looking Glass. And he's kind of like dealing with being like a leader of a support group involving around the incident, involving the giant squid, and a lot of other things. But this character is way better than I actually anticipated. I thought he was just kind of like a weird guy on the side, but he actually ended up being way cooler in terms of storyline than a lot of the other characters in the series. Whisk this up really quick. Haven't made muffins in so long. Especially mini muffins. Sorry, this is so tedious. So while I'm doing this, probably the coolest thing about this character isn't necessarily his ability, which still really wasn't very well explained in the episode. It's more about just like his overall just badassness and where he's sort of come from and like the weight that he's constantly carrying, because he actually is very much traumatized by the event that he experienced when he was younger. And what I thought was really cool about the whole characters in the world actually was how there's this whole thing where there's this protection alarm system that actually breaks down on him to let him know that there is some type of paranormal type of event that's about to happen. And he runs this drill constantly to the point where this machine actually breaks. And it's actually during that scene and later in this episode that the big reveal comes about that Ozymandias' character, Jeremy Irons, essentially just put this giant squid there just to stop the nuclear arms between Russia and the U.S., and how it was just a big diversion. And there was no actual interdimensional being that sort of just transported there. He just created a transporter and plopped it down in New York City, had this giant event happen, and it's been traumatic for a lot of people, and how that's affected him long term. So he has this machine and this device to help tell him when these things are going to happen, but it turns out it's all a lie. And he also wears inside of his hat during his normal day-to-day the same material, reflective material, that his mask is made out of. So he's super paranoid, but he also has to be very functional. And this is really cool for this character because he lives very much a Batman dual identity sort of lifestyle that you really wouldn't have expected from a Watchmen show, but it's really freaking awesome. Alright, well apparently I didn't put my notes on anywhere, so this is all from memory. But yeah, the episode is actually really, really cool. I highly recommend checking it out. It's not super Watchmen connected other than if you've read the comic. So it does a lot of fan service there, like I mentioned. Yeah, I highly recommend watching this episode. This is the episode that not maybe necessarily they should have started with. I do think that it should have come a couple episodes in, but it could have easily replaced last week's episode, which was pretty boring. Oven in Spanish. Horno. Horno? Horno. Agua. I just put away the leche. I need a drink. It's hot in here. So yeah, other than the sort of Tim Blake Nelson character, who is again phenomenal, I can't praise it enough. It's probably all I've talked about because I've been cutting in and out of this video probably for the past 15 to 20 minutes while I wait for these muffins to bake. So yeah, very enjoyable episode, but something that prompted a question of mine was in regards to something that goes back to the first episode, which is about these squids falling from the sky when it rains. I don't know if that's supposed to be a reference to something that is actually trans-dimensional portal something, or if it's more of like a trick that Ozymandias' company, led by Lady True, who we saw in the last episode, sort of focuses on, or at least kind of tricks the public into thinking that this threat is very real. Then they also subsidize the alarm company that does the alerts for if this paranormal activity were to occur again. A lot of different questions are popped up. And I did like the reveal very much that the senator guy or congressman, whatever his name was, is actually a part of the Rorschach group, whose name once again escapes me because I watched this several days ago. He's part of that group, which was big reveal as well. And, you know, Looking Glass watching the tape that reveals this big information that is very life-changing. It was pretty heavy, but it was also awesome at the same time. Now, at the ending of the episode, I'm not sure where they're going to go with it. I don't know if they're going to let him join, if they're trying to kill Looking Glass. There's a bunch of different things that could happen. But like I said, this episode was hands down probably the best. I did like episode, I think it was 3, a lot. But this one is very much a standalone, very straightforward, focused story that has a really good narrative throughout of trauma, of coping with that trauma, dealing with it, and sort of moving on, but also sort of having your own sort of inner demons. There's a lot of different themes at play here that work very well for the Looking Glass character. And I highly recommend Watchmen overall, but I think this would probably be the Emmy-nominated show if they were ever to do so down the line, unless Watchmen has some pretty baller stuff coming up, which they very well could. I don't really know what else to tell you, to be honest. Didn't really do my hair. Hopefully it looks okay for you guys. Well, how'd you get in there? And then a fun little twist in this episode, other than the whole thing happening with Ozymandias and the connection with the Watchmen comic, is with Sister Knight's character, who is still doing a little bit of digging and covering up for her grandfather, which she gets outed by Looking Glass in this episode to the FBI. Lori's her name, I think. FBI agent, and so essentially CIA. Is she FBI? CIA. Silk Spectre is who she rats out to, or he rats her out to. And essentially, she downs a bunch of pills that are like memory pills. So the next episode is going to focus on her basically ODing / freaking out of these memories. So that's going to be really interesting to see how they interlace Sister Knight's current character with the memories of her grandfather's past and a lot of his life events. So how that's going to interlace, it's going to be interesting. But I think that how it's going to be presented will be a trip, but it might be a fun trip. So other than that, those are my thoughts on Watchmen episode number 5. I really don't have much else to talk about it, as I've been recording off and on for the past about 25 minutes. So I've kind of run out of things to talk about. But if you have seen the episode, make sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your thoughts, as well as let me know, did you like cooking with me? Did you like having some Spanish tossed in? These are all things that I can incorporate for future videos. Make sure you let me know your thoughts down on the segment, on the structure of this video down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. But other than that, that's really all I have for now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. And if you're curious, here are my completed muffins, golden brown to perfection.